Hi, everyone. Lucky to have a guy with us. Let's not call it luck. Let's call it our paths crossed and there was destiny. And I've talked to Tony Greer before. He's the editor, publisher of the Navigator. And Tony's in the zone right now. So I thought we'd start with talking about everyone talks about managing risk, Tony.
Mm,
But what's important is as important as managing profits when you're on a trend and you're riding a trend and maybe taking pieces off, having a discipline to keep you in the trade. So I've noticed that you have that skill because you've been long the miners for quite some time. I remember during that consolidation phase when we went sideways, and I
hmm
was top picking it, and I had a few successful shorts. But you talked about that this will shake the tourists out.
yeah.
So you're not a tourist, Tony Greer. When you go somewhere, you plant your roots. So tell us how you're managing staying long in a parabolic move in the minors.
Man, it's a great question, Dale. First, thank you for having me on your show. You are literally my spiritual leader on Twitter, and I really appreciate that very much, as well as one of the technical analysts that I hold close to the vest
Oh, thank
in
you,
my
Tony.
arsenal. And I love it when we line up on ideas and charts and things like that. So to talk about, I guess, how to manage profits. It's something that you do have to master if you want to become an alchemist, right? If you want to make
Yeah.
something out of nothing by being a trader, you got to figure out how to let your profits run and somehow have a system to let your losses be brief and short-lived and, not too damaging. So, my real there's really no secret sauce between how I've done that. I use a trailing stop method, Dale.
Okay.
And once I'm in something, I know what my risk is when I get in. And
Hmm.
then God forbid the trade starts working for me. That's when I'm really good at saying, okay, let's raise my stop loss level so I don't turn this into a losing trade. Let's raise
Right.
it so that I maintain this as a profitable trade. And that has been a big change, over the last 8 to 10 years, and I'm really employing that strategy most seriously. That has been a big change to my sort of batting average as a trader.
I like it because there's no subjectivity involved in the out. It's mechanical the way you trade it, and even when you get into a trade, your initial stop, people forget to assess, why they're getting in a trade in the first place, and if it's negated, they shouldn't be there anymore. But
Yeah.
what do you use as a trailing stop? Some type of proprietary, or is it simple as a moving average, or what do you
Sim-
use?
Simple as the moving averages, Dale. I'm a big fan of the 50-day for kind of shorter term, trying to stay with shorter term trends like that. That's just, I look
Yeah,
at the 50-day, 100-day, and 200-day, right? And then on at times, if I say I'm ratcheting up the stop on a position, which means that I'm making money in it, it means that I'm raising my trailing stop level, and it still means that the market, the other way that I participate in profit taking, Dale, is when something that I'm in, gaps open to a new high, right?
on news.
Yeah, exactly. On news, on a
Okay,
headline, that's
yeah,
something that I always have to participate in,
right.
right? And I won't say that I'll hand over my whole position into that, but I will make some sort of a token sale and say, okay, everybody loves it that much this morning. Let's let them have some of the length and look
Some
to buy that
keyword.
back cheaper immediately, right? Oops.
Yeah.
So
So, okay.
go
All
ahead.
right.
So
So,
that
would you say that you're still long the majority of the miners? We both talked to Maggie, and she was while I was on the air, she showed a clip of yours of how the miners weren't even giving people a chance to get in. They would just open higher and go, open higher and go, small little pullbacks. So I would imagine with the trading style you just described to me that you're still long most of your mining position.
Yeah, I had my whole miners position, Dale. There's
Wow.
really the beauty about this run has been, I was just writing about it this morning. when you're in something that's starting to go a little bit parabolic, and I
Yeah,
won't say these have gone straight parabolic, but they're approaching that kind of a trade, right?
they are.
Um,
You could see the French curve in it. If I drew a parabola, it's definitely, in the latter stages maybe of
yeah,
the,
yeah, we're getting there. So the thing is, though, is it hasn't given you, that crystal clear outside reversal day.
yeah.
Where when you're like when the writing is on the wall on a day like that, then you can push some chips right off the table and say, okay, that, you got me. That looks like a good high. I want to participate in a day like that. Um, that's another good way to get out. But in the minors, we haven't had any of that. There's been no double
No.
top. There's been no head and shoulders. There's been no, reversal day or large magnitude down move into the close, which is,
Okay, you know what I would look for with this setup we have here? We have a gap up, right? And two little red candles here.
yeah,
If we gap down tomorrow, we're leaving a 3-day island.
yeah.
Island top. So, I mean, I know you're into pattern recognition too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everything I do is pattern recognition, Dale.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh, Yeah. I was told once by someone, well, because that's my issue is staying with the trades long enough, that I should ask myself before I take profits if I would be willing to reverse.
mm,
And if the answer is no, just walk away.
mm,
And I do that now.
totally fair.
Yeah, if you're not willing to reverse, here I might be tempted to reverse with part of it because of a potential island. But what do you think? And I know you write a great letter. I want to show everyone the Navigator.
Thank you.
Okay, and you're talking about 5,000 gold, and I could see that down the road. But isn't there the potential with the dollar basing out here, even if it's a bear market rally, we go to 102? And what worries me about all assets right now, Tony, is what's happening with yields. Because
Mm,
I was looking for the 10-year to go to about 4% and that be a floor.
mm.
And since the last cut, it looks like we're trying to come out of here and back over 420 might bring in some pressure on all asset classes. Do you think yields are the wild card here?
Well, Dale, I feel like the market just got out of a situation where it was potentially set up to be a sell the fact on the FOMC rate cut.
Right.
Right. It was the first cut since December 2024. I think it was. The market had been climbing a wall of worry, you could say, right into that, right, with a couple of, potential derailing episodes in the last couple of months, but the bull market was intact. The FOMC was a total setup to be okay, we're lowering rates now, sell the fact in equities.
Yeah.
People are changing their allocation, buying bonds, selling stocks, and none of that materialized,
No,
right?
it was a sell the fact in TLT. This was the Fed day right up
There
here.
was a sell the fact in bonds,
Yeah.
exactly.
And the
So
dollar.
and the dollar, and that's fine. But in the stock market, there was no
No,
such reaction,
none.
right? What
None.
happened, if anything, was the leadership was emboldened. Gold miners, industrial miners, uranium miners, they all kept going post FOMC. And if you noticed, technology picked its head right up and tried to get into the mix, right? With
Yeah.
performance. We had, great performance in semiconductors with the
Yeah.
NVIDIA headline. Social media is roaring, SOCL, internet stocks, software, IGV, it all picked its head up with the last Fed cut. So to me, that was, green light go saying that, yeah, this is not a sell the fact event. This is actually the next leg of the bull market. And that's what it's panning out to be since then so far.
But you have a range that would, I noticed in the Navigator, you put out a range at either side of this range, you'll see acceleration. Where was the downside of the range in S&Ps? I forgot what I read. already.
Where do I think we accelerate on the downside?
Yeah, you have a range that kind of like where you would protect yourself.
Oh, I
Um,
mean, I would probably put it this way, Dale. I don't have I was just running the S&P long and I took my long off in the S&P itself. So I'm not
oh,
currently running a long SPY position, but
okay.
I stayed long on the radar screen where I'm still bullish, right? I mean, it was a huge profitable trade. I took some
Yeah.
profit. I'm waiting to get back in, that kind of thing, but I remain
Okay.
bullish as
Okay.
it's bullish on the bullish side of the radar screen.
So
So I would say,
you'd welcome a 5% decline here.
I'd
Would you
love to
love
see it
it?
back off. I'd love to see it back off to 6,500.
Okay. All right. So that's interesting. Do you do anything um, with currencies? Do you do anything? Everything is equities, right?
Yeah, yeah, Dale. I use, currencies and rates are kind of, they're like dials on the speedometer of the car that I'm driving, right? They kind of tell me how fast I can step on the gas in the other sectors that I'm in, whether I'm in tech or if I'm in metals and mining, et cetera. That's how I use, I really don't trade the dollar or bonds much at
Okay.
all anymore.
Okay.
I
Let me
really
ask
don't.
you about something that I'm sure everyone I've talked to loves this stock. Okay. So this is a little impromptu. Uber. Okay. Now here's Uber. Basically, I started getting bearish all the way back here. We've had huge moves, and everyone started thinking this was a tech stock, or at least it won't be affected by tariffs. And to me, it looks like an ending diagonal. Also, I don't know if you've seen ads where you live, but they have ads here now, Tony,
Mm.
about that if you feel unsafe as a woman being in an Uber with a male driver, you can set it up so you could have a female driver.
Really?
In yes, in California. So
It's a nice feature.
if it's happening here, I know women. Some of them are nervous about getting into an Uber car
Yeah,
with guys.
totally understandable. You think that's the
So
end of the stock?
I think that we could see 80. So
Wow.
I mean, I do think that there are some shorting opportunities up here. You have to admit things are pretty blown up. So what I look for is what's not participating.
Mm.
And basically you go back to May, and we know what the S&Ps have done since
Yeah.
May, but here we have a 94 Uber, and here we are 5 months later at 97, 3 points better. Who feels
Yeah.
good about that long?
Nah, she's dragging ass, that's for sure.
Anyway, I just thought I'd bring it up that what would you do with a stock like this?
I mean, I'm probably not touching that. I like your idea that it's really lagging, and I'm also, as a technician, I have to recognize that it's made a couple of higher highs and a couple of higher lows. So, the
Yeah,
bull trend, while fading and slowing, is still intact.
yeah,
And I'm a bull market trader, so you got to convince me that something is firmly in a downtrend to consider being shorted.
yeah. So it's not in a downtrend. And
No, not
even
yet.
yeah, pull back to 80 won't put it in a downtrend. So I'm kind of a guerrilla warrior and just look for, some
Biting
of
the
these.
tape on this one.
Just I like to short the weak sister
I
and
like
like
it.
to be long relative strengths.
I like
What
it.
and so semiconductors are the leader in your view in this
No,
rally.
gold miners, industrial miners, uranium miners. Those are
Were
the three leaders at the top of my leaderboard,
were
man.
you on the uranium? I just watched it all the way up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was really a great trade.
yeah.
Do you have what do you do? Buy stocks
We bought
like
your URA on the breakout, bought it and sold it already. It's still going. It's one of
wow.
those. Yeah, yeah. We nailed that one too. That was a really good trade, and I took it off. Literally, I'm not. I think it was just. I forgot what I took profit on it in, but maybe it had some kind of a reversal day. But we just took a chunk out of URA, and I'm looking to get back in. That
Yeah.
that sector is real deal rally, right? That's got, the narrative behind it. It's got, the fact that they're still cheap, relatively speaking, historically. There's room for that sucker to run. So that's a really good bull market sector for me.
Okay, so that's an energy play.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a while, right, for them to be able to build these out to power
Yeah.
data centers. I've been thinking natural gas is along because that's a bridge
Could
between
be.
here and uranium. Um, everyone hates the oils, Tony, and
Yeah.
I remember times when you liked the oil. So you're not. Some people are just perma bears in oil, and they took a lick when Israel went into Iran, and we did. But
Mhm.
what's your feeling with how oils are acting now? We could use like
Yeah. To
USO.
So to me, it looks like energy likes these prices on the board, right? It looks like
Okay.
we're operating in a very efficient energy market. If I'm not unhappy paying $3 a gallon for gas, I feel like that's probably a cheap price and a cheap input price for our economy.
450 out here, buddy.
Yeah, well, you guys do your own self-inflicted wounds on that front, Dale. I can't talk about that. But I'm
I know, I
my
know.
my point being is that there's
I know
plenty.
your spectrum, Tony. I
Yeah,
know where you're at on the spectrum.
I
Go
know
ahead.
that's fine. That's fine. But there's plenty of refined products in the harbor. The WTI market is technically in slightly a bit of a downtrend. The spreads aren't breaking out anywhere into a steep backwardation or anything like that. So I feel like the oil market's just comfortable here. If anything, maybe there's a little bit of downside risk if there's real recession risk. I think Goldman Sachs came out and said there's like a 20% chance of a recession, which is like something that I don't ever chase,
Okay.
recession probability. But I mean, in the event that it looks more like we go into one, maybe oil trades into the high 50s or something like that.
Okay. Well, have you seen the peace agreement between Israel and Iran and the U.S.?
Are we going to have peace going forward, Dale?
Well,
Tell me about it.
have you seen the peace agreement?
I haven't.
Me either.
Right, exactly.
All
Yeah.
right, so there's some risk that's not priced into the oil market,
Good
buddy.
point. You almost caught me on that one.
Yeah. So I mean, I look at this, on a monthly basis, and you're a pattern guy.
Yeah.
So tell me what the oil looks like, and I know you're long gold, but have you seen the gold oil ratio? It must be really, really cheap.
Yeah.
But look at that. I mean, this was COVID, right?
Yep.
And then the Ukraine,
Mm-hmm.
and then all these years, to me, this looks like a normal correction. If I covered up the title and you didn't know it was crude, you'd be going, wow, there might be a buying opportunity here.
Yeah, yeah. If anything, maybe a buy opportunity in a pullback, but I
Yeah,
mean, I wouldn't that chart, the rally from 10 to 140 and then the 50% pullback, I'm leaving
yeah.
that thing alone. That thing looks like it's about to go to sleep for the next year.
Okay. Never sell a sleeping market,
No, that's
my
true.
trading warrior brother. Um, okay, so let's talk about the Navigator and how people could get involved with you. Anything in the letter that you'd like to point out?
Yeah, the view matrix at the end, Dale. If you go one down one more, go up one more page.
There.
The study
This?
break is no, the study break is for fun. That's just to relate to the human being and every risk manager, right? The
Oh,
view
oh,
matrix is interesting. There's actually a typo on here because this is me getting out of an ITB trade.
okay.
And I wrote it the day before. So I said, it looks like we're going to get out of the trade. It stopped. It got me below my stop loss level. So we got out with a 5% gain, which is a very typical MO for me, right? Like I'm good at recognizing the setup. I'm good at staying in the trade. All of my take profits, for the most part, unless I get really lucky and sell something on a gap, all of my take profits are a pullback from the high water mark, right? The
Okay.
market will always have reached a peak, and then I want to get out when the trend is over. But a cool story about this about the view matrix right now for me is the social media trade, right? I got into social media April 23rd. We're up 40% on the trade. And what's wild about it is that I never expected the trade to work out this well, but it was this typical example where a trailing stop kept me in the trade and let it become an actual really big trade in the P&L, right? It's like I wasn't going to be the one to pick a top in social media. So I just left my stop below the markets and I let the market rally and rally and rally. And no matter how high I raise my trailing stop loss, social media keeps going. So I'm still in the trade. I've got the stop loss very close to the market now because I want to lock in a big 40 something percent winner. And this is a good example of how a good trade becomes a great trade on the Navigator, right?
Uh,
Trading the breakouts, staying in it with the use of a trailing stop, not deciding that I'm going to decide when the market peaked, but let the market get me out when it peaks.
yeah.
And, I'm just going to keep raising the stop until the damn thing takes me out. If it doesn't close
What?
below 60, I ain't getting out.
All right. So was it your own research that led you to this idea?
Yeah, it's pattern recognition, man. If you look and see when I got in right at the end of April there, it's just
Yeah.
as it got back up above the moving averages.
It was an
And
island. Like
yeah,
gold could leave
exactly.
tomorrow. Look at, I mean, these islands.
Right? You
R-
got
r-
confident that that was a good low. You see it
yeah.
creeping back into the moving averages. That gives you
Yeah.
the okay to start moving money towards it.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you get the clean breakout, you put on your full position, and then you fold your arms.
Yeah. That's the tough part.
That's the tough part, but
Look,
social media made it easy, right? No tests of the 50-day moving average. I mean, that thing
none.
didn't keep me up at all at night.
So
So that's,
this is the opposite of Tom Petty. The waiting is the hardest part. The waiting is the greatest part
yeah,
when this is
exactly.
working like this.
It's so right. That's why arms folded is a good position for a trader, man. I know my risk. I know where I'm getting out. It's still taking profit. If I want to stay with this trend and see if it persists, I can get back in, like I'm really flexible like that. So that's
Okay,
good.
well, all right. Well, let's talk about one of my favorite subjects, cannabis.
Yeah, me
All
too.
right. So, I mean,
That's
you
a
sent,
breakout.
yeah. So you sent me a DM and asked me what kind of targets we could get and this and that. But I mean, this was one heck of a move, triples on
Yeah.
almost all of them, right? So
Yeah.
we've gotten kind of quiet here,
Yep.
waiting for the rescheduling or
Hmm.
descheduling. Um, I'd love to see a break back down into this range
Would you buy it down there next time?
with both hands,
Really? I
both
love it.
hands.
I'm the same
But
way. I'm the
that's
same way.
about 78.6 back, Tony. I'd like to see some disappointment
Yeah.
about or doubt creep in
Yeah.
about the rescheduling, and then have all the Johnny come latelys sell it to me down here.
Yeah, I get that. And now I got back into it, but I'm not at a full position because I want to be able to buy it at 350 if it gets there. So I've got powder dry for that trade if it gets there, and I've got a smaller long on if it happens to bounce from here. But I'm gonna this is that's a typical breakout that you like to trade, and you
Right.
try to like not take your eye off that, Dale, right? That's
Yeah.
the one that you take your eye off for a couple of weeks, you get busy with something else, and you look up and it's $9 bid.
Yeah.
And you're like, Jesus, all the money I could have made in between there. Like, why do I take my eye off of that thing? So
All right.
that's a good
Here's
lesson.
I'm giving this advice to me too, but also to everyone. Don't live in woulda, coulda, shoulda land,
Yeah,
or you're gonna have a short career and lots of ulcers.
it's a good point.
You
It's a
won't
good
have
point.
your health. Um, so what is it besides the technicals? It seemed like you had kind of a fundamental view of why, because I gave you some targets based upon, these things, what they did, just corrections from where they were would be big money. Is that
Hmm.
why you think that they could make major moves? Is just because they're so washed out that
Yeah,
a 50% correction is big money?
that's a sector that's been left for dead,
Yeah,
right? It's kind of been left for dead. All the speculative length has been washed out of it, as you can see, and it's one of those things where a floor trader taught me this a long time ago. A guy named Mr. Stuart Frankel, who ran a great direct access business on the stock exchange. He said, "I always wake up when they sell them down to the sleeping levels." Right.
oh,
And the sleeping levels, you know what it is, Dale, in a sector, right? It's that price where it doesn't break down any further and nobody's talking about it anymore, right? That
yeah.
means everybody's out. There's nobody sitting there long, and the sector is ripe for a move higher, right? Everybody would have to reposition if a good news came in and it starts going. And I feel like that's still where we are in a lot of cannabis names.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of these bases, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. When things base for that long, that's when you can't take them
look
off
at
your chart,
this.
off your
All
screen.
right. Yeah, so here's a base in Cureleaf. I
9 months long, right? Almost a
yeah,
year that thing based.
yeah. So I would jump all over it at a buck and a half if we had
Yeah.
that type of hit.
Yeah.
But okay, so cannabis overlooked, and I don't even think this rally got woke people up either. I've asked people about it. Um, who was it? It's a guy that Maggie also interviews. But I asked him about cannabis, and he goes, "Oh, I don't want to deal with that stuff. I don't deal with that stuff."
Mm.
So anyway, there's not a lot of embracing of this move. Um,
No, there's not yet.
okay,
The government's still doing the Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football, right? Every time we think they're going to reschedule it, no reschedule happens. So they pull the football again, and it's like, oh man, when is this ever going to happen? I mean, if they don't get access to capital like every other
yeah,
commoditized business in the country, I don't know who else deserves it. So we'll see what happens, man.
yeah. Well, if it can make the U.S. government money, our president will get it through.
It's true. Let's hope.
Okay, so Tony, best way for people to follow you is great, going over markets with you. We just started fall. Okay, so I look at seasons, and
Me
so you
too.
have you have a view of it. That's why you called it an equinox edition.
Mhm.
What do you think the big plays are going into winter this year?
So for me, I put it this way. I've had, as you can see by the P&L, we've generated 260 percentage directional percentage points, right? And I'm just highlighting that because that's a big number. It's a great P&L, and the way that that's calculated,
Uh,
that is not a portfolio return,
right.
right? That means that is a scoreboard. If I make 10% on a trade directionally, it's plus 10% on that P&L. So anyway, I'm trying to preserve a good P&L this year. So that's why I've got a kind of low risk heading down the stretch. My fiscal year ends in October.
Oh,
The
okay.
way that
Yeah.
I'm
Well.
looking at it, though, is the market is in a condition where you want to play all the breakouts. You know what I mean? So when there's a new leg up in semiconductors, like we just saw, like that's a breakout that I'm inclined to try to get into at some point, right? Like tech is coming alive now, and there's a few sectors that have been kind of lying around that they can break out. Those are the breakouts that I want to trade. I'm going to get into them, manage the risk, but because the market is in a good bull market condition right now, that's how I'm postured. Right. I know what my risk reward is. I know that I'm getting into sectors that are going to be like, hitting inflection points. And that's really how I want to trade it. Right. I think it's going to be one breakout after the next one for a good couple of quarters.
All right. Well, trade that from Costa Rica.
Yeah,
Get away.
nice. That would be nice,
That
man.
that is one advantage we have. We can do this anywhere.
Yeah, it is. It is. The
You know.
mobility is nice, man.
So it's funny. I'll tell you a story. So I did some interviews while I was in this RV, and it was half size. And so people would see me in there. I had no screensaver or anything. And they on the comments they go, "Is Dale doing these interviews from an RV? Why would I take advice from a homeless person?"
Jesus Christ.
So anyway,
That's funny,
when
man.
I came back on live and I was home, I thanked everyone for setting up a GoFundMe
Buy
account
you a
for,
new office?
but I'm okay. I'm
Good.
okay. See how people judge
Yeah,
just
right.
by, what they see. You're in an RV, or you're a homeless person.
Funny.
So anyway, now they're listening to me again. Anyway, Tony, it was great laughing with you and sharing stuff. You know, you had a great summer season, spring. Um, One thing that I tell people, and I know you know it, you know how when people have windfall gains in their account, that's when they start to get sloppy. And
Mm.
I'm talking about myself too. And
Hmm.
they rationalize it by saying, oh, it's the house's money. And I say, no, it isn't. It's yours till you give it back,
Yeah, it's a good point, man.
right?
Yeah, I just, that I'm guilty of that myself. I'm a hardcore blackjack player, right? And the
Okay.
time that you step on the gas is when you're playing with the house's money, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm guilty of doing that in trading just as well. It's the same exact psychology where you're just looking to get rich quick, right?
Yeah.
You're like, I've been right. I like this trade, so I'm just going to be bigger than I usually am. And then that's usually the sign that you get assigned a humble pie, and that's your next wrong trade. And then you're
Yeah.
forced to deal with bigger risk than you wanted to get out. That's when you get yourself in trouble, man. So you got to keep the blackjack scenario separate from the trading scenario because it's real money in the markets, man.
Yeah, you can't let your head mess up your trading because it's always going to feel. We have feelings.
Mm.
A floor trader said, Dale, be a machine. And
Yeah.
we're always going to feel like we've never had enough on when we're right. And we've always had too much on when we're wrong.
Yeah.
You'll always feel that way. So
That's
why
right.
let it bother you?
That's right, man. Take the emotion out of it. That's been my message to all my readers from the very beginning, right? Make trades binary. This is where I bought it. So this is where I get out. That's where I take profit. And now let the numbers do the work.
Well, I wear my heart on my sleeve and my emotions, and I'm glad our paths crossed, Tony, and
Me too.
honored to call you my trading warrior brother
Me too, my man. Keep up the
in many
great work,
ways.
Dale.
All right,
Have-
Tony Greer, everybody, follow him at TG Macro on X and
yeah,
check out the Navigator just in case you're out there in rough seas and you need a compass.
that's right,
Tony
man.
Tony's your guy.
That's exactly what we're doing. Thank you so much for that endorsement, Dale. You're a gentleman.
All right, Tony. Adios.
Peace out.
All right, so this will be recorded. Don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow in the room.